All right, today we are unpacking one of the most incredible turnarounds in history. We're talking about a story of brutal betrayal, a devastating famine, and an act of forgiveness so profound it literally reshaped the destiny of an entire people. And it all kicks off with one desperate plea. So picture this. Our story opens at a moment of absolute desperation. We're in the court of an Egyptian governor, a man so powerful he's basically on the same level as Pharaoh himself. And there's a man named Judah, and he is on his knees, pleading, begging for the life and freedom of his youngest brother Benjamin. Now, every single word of Judah's plea is just loaded with years of family drama and sorrow. And honestly, this speech is the key that's about to unlock this entire unbelievable situation.
So Judah just lays it all out on the table. He tells this powerful governor the whole heartbreaking story. He explains that his father Jacob is an old man who has already lost one beloved son, and Benjamin, he's the only one left from that part of the family. He says his father's life is literally bound up in the lad's life. If Benjamin doesn't come home, their father will actually die of sorrow.
And then we get this absolutely stunning moment of transformation. Judah, and you have to remember, this is the same brother who once came up with the idea of selling another sibling into slavery. He now offers himself in his brother's place. He begs the governor, "Take me, let me be your slave for life, just let the boy go home."
Well, that act of real, genuine self-sacrifice, that's the final test. And it is the breaking point for the Egyptian governor. Because you see, this is no ordinary official. He is a man who's been hiding a massive, 20-year-old secret.
The sheer force of the emotional release here is just staggering. After 2 long decades, Joseph just can't hold it in anymore. He orders everyone out of the room and completely breaks down, weeping so loudly that the entire house of Pharaoh can hear him. The dam has finally broken.
And then, he drops the bombshell. It changes everything. He finally reveals who he is. I am Joseph, the brother they betrayed, the one they sold to slave traders, the son their father has mourned as dead for over 20 years. And now he holds their lives in his hand.
The brothers are, as you can imagine, terrified. They are completely dumbfounded. They are expecting vengeance, 100%. But Joseph's reaction is the exact opposite of what anyone would predict. Instead of retribution, he immediately offers comfort. He tells them not to be angry with themselves. He weeps, he kisses them, he forgives.
So, how in the world does Joseph explain this? He doesn't frame it as this terrible thing they did to him, but as a necessary part of a much, much bigger divine plan.
Joseph gives them this completely shocking reinterpretation of their own evil deed. He insists that it wasn't really their malice that put him in Egypt. No, he says, God did send me before you to preserve life. He sees a divine purpose in all his suffering. His job was to get to Egypt to save their entire family from this devastating famine. This immediately brings up a huge question, right? Who is the God that Joseph believes is pulling all these strings? What kind of God are we talking about here?
Well, the narrative is very clear on this. This isn't some distant, abstract force. He is identified specifically as the God of thy father. This is a personal God, one who is deeply invested in the history and the future of this one specific family line, from Isaac to Jacob and now to all of his sons.
And through all this, we see 4 key things about God in this story. He is sovereign. He can take the brother's evil act and weave it into a plan for salvation. He is life-preserving. He uses the famine itself to bring his people to safety. He is protective. He literally promises Jacob, "I'll go with you." And finally, he is faithful. He's using this whole crisis to keep his promise to make them a great nation. So this divine plan starts to unfold, and we see this completely fractured family get brought back together under the most incredible circumstances. As Jacob gets ready for this huge move, he stops to offer sacrifices, and God actually speaks to him in a vision at night. He tells Jacob not to be afraid of leaving his home, and he repeats the promise that his family will become a great nation right there in Egypt. And so they go. The entire clan makes the journey south. The text is super specific. It counts 70 people in total. And this isn't just a family trip, you know. This is the migration of a nation in its infancy. And right here, this is the emotional peak of the whole family saga. Jacob, who has lived with this crushing grief for decades, finally sees his son Joseph again. He weeps on his neck, and in this moment of just pure joy and relief, he says he can die in peace now because his beloved son is alive.
But this family reunion isn't the end.
It's actually a massive turning point, because the story is about to pivot from Joseph the forgiving brother to Joseph the political architect, a man who will use his immense power to fundamentally restructure an entire civilization.
To handle the famine, Joseph puts this masterful and you could say ruthless four-stage economic plan into action. First, he collects all the money in the kingdom in exchange for grain. When the money runs out, he takes all the livestock. The next year, when there's nothing left, the people trade their land and themselves for food. This effectively nationalizes all private property for Pharaoh. And finally, he creates a permanent 20% tax on all future harvests, changing Egyptian society forever.
So when you step back, you see the story isn't just a drama. It's basically a blueprint for how to build a society. It lays out three core relationships: one with God, which is based on worship and obedience; one with other people, built on radical forgiveness; and one with the earth, which demands a kind of stewardship that leads to total state control just for the sake of survival.
So, how did the Egyptian people react to this new social contract, to losing all their land and freedom? With gratitude. They don't see Joseph as a tyrant, they see him as their savior. They willingly accept their new status as Pharaoh's servants in exchange for their lives. And ultimately, the story leaves us with this really powerful question. How can the most intimate, personal conflicts of a single family, their betrayals, their jealousies, their ultimate forgiveness, how can that ripple outward to become the actual blueprint for an entire civilization's survival and structure?